Hello and welcome back. In the previous video we've set up a proxy so that client now redirects all API calls to backend. In this video we'll start creating first components for our page. Before we move on, I want you to delete all the files in the source folder. We'll leave only index and service worker for now. Yes, you've heard me right, we're going to delete all this and start from scratch. Don't worry, we won't delete anything important. So all this needs to go away. Okay? And what we'll do now is create a folder where we'll store all the new components. All components will go in here. New folder, named components. Because you know React, you know that components are self-sustaining, independent micro parts of the app's interface. And applications UI can be split up into smaller components where each component has its own code, structure and API. Let's see how we can split up our application. Let's open the mockup of our page. We've been looking at it at the beginning of the course. Okay, so what could be the components that we need? Yes, sure, we need the app component. Okay, the next could be the header of the page. And yes, chatbot will be a component that will have many other components, like message components and quick replies and cart. Then shop will have its own set of components. And subpages like about will be a component. Then first page, let's call it landing, will be also a component. So these are some of the components we'll build. Again, this will be a demo page, so I'll leave the designing part to you. You probably have a design in mind. In this video, we'll create all the components I've listed now. We'll make them as simple as possible. They will be simple functions that render some HTML. If you've worked with React, then you know components can be of two types, either as a class component or a functional component. Functional components are just JavaScript functions, and class components offer more features like states, lifecycle hooks, and we'll talk more about this when we come to them. For now, our components will be simple functions. Let's start with the app component. Create a new file inside components and call it app.js. Start with a capital A, like this. First thing we need to do is import React library. Import React from React. Do you see? Because of Babel, I can now use the import syntax. Cool, huh? And now the function. Const app equals braces, arrow function, curly braces, return, div, app, and the end of div. Like this. This is only a shorter syntax, the arrow function we talked about in one of the previous videos. The longer version would be like this. Add a function here and remove the arrow. This looks more familiar, right? Yes, it does. It looks like a normal function. But let's use arrow functions. Remove the function and add an arrow. And we have an arrow function. It's not that confusing when you see how to transform it, just by removing function and adding arrow. But what about this here? This normally would be in quotes like a string. Well, yes, but basically this file is JSX. Remember, JSX supports XML kind of syntax. Well, this is it. And this is just a single div with a string app inside. And we need to export it if we want the component to be accessible outside this file. Export default app, like this. For this demo to work, we need to import it to index file, therefore move to index.js file. You can remove index.css import, it does not exist anymore, and app component is now in the components folder, like this. This is it. Let's start our app so that we can see our progress. Go to terminal, to project folder and write npm run dev. And our app should open in the browser any minute. It's here. Well, it's not much. Let's create some of the page's components, like landing. And I want to put all the pages into the Pages folder so we can have them together. I don't like to have a big mess in one folder. This is why we'll create another folder inside the Components folder. New folder, call it Pages. Like this. And inside this we'll create a file called landing.js. New file, call it landing.js. Did you see I'm using small caps for folders and big caps for components? All the components in the React apps have big caps. This is how we know this file contains components without even opening it up. It's a development agreement, okay? Now in here we'll again import React. Import React from React. Now create the component const landing. We can now use the arrow syntax. It will be without parameters. And here's the return syntax. It will return a div, like this. Inside the div, I'll add an address, h1. The address will be selling you great stuff. Okay, yes, I know you'll make a way better page with better design and better marketing text. Okay, after the header, I'll add text with the help of a chatbot. Okay, now I can export landing component. Export default landing, like this. Okay, great. Let's create another one. Let's create about page. It'll also be inside Pages folder. And I'll call it about with a capital A. Why don't we just copy the landing component to here? Go to landing, select all text, paste it to about. Cool. Now rename landing to about. Also down here. And change the address to about us. And remove this text. Okay, cool. Few more components to be created. Let's take a short break. I need some coffee. How about you? In the next video, I will create more components and will also optimize the code a bit more. It's always fun to optimize. See you soon. Bye bye.